Good evening everyone. Welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. My name is Alpa Sharma and in today's session we shall be talking about IPMAT and how you can get through IPMAT in the very first attempt. What should be your strategy for the next 30 days? I hope I'm clearly visible and audible to everyone. Can you hear and see me clearly, everybody? Very good evening. Good evening, good evening. Yes, so here we go. So the idea for today's session is that we talk about IPMAT. We also talk about the fact that since we don't have a lot of time left for IPMAT, what should our strategy be? How should we prepare for the next 30 days so that we are able to get through the examination in the very first attempt itself? That's exactly what we're going to talk about in the session today. So what are we going to see? The flow would be, we will talk about IPMAT Indoors pattern, IPMAT Rohtak's pattern, and individual strategies for verbal ability, quantitative ability and logical reasoning section, each one of that. That's exactly what we're going to be doing in the session that follows here. So let's first have a look at the fact that what does IIM Indore, the IPMAT Indore examination, ask us? In how many levels is the examination divided in? And then we would talk about Rohtak and then we would talk about individual sections and their strategy. So IIM Indore checks you mostly on two subjects, verbal ability and quantitative ability. Although quantitative ability is divided into two sections. So one is a subjective paper, that is the short answer type. The other is an objective paper, that is the MCQ. So you would be asked these three various sections, but the subjects are going to be only and only two, verbal ability and mathematics. So 20 marks for multiple choice maths, 10 marks for short answer type quantitative ability questions and 30 marks for verbal ability questions. So you have negative marking -1 in the verbal ability and multiple choice quantitative ability section, but no negative marking in the short answer type. And the selection process in IIM Indore is divided into two parts. That is interview and the test that you give. Plus, do you see this score? A lot of weightage is given in IIM Indore to your interviews performance as well. So, apart from the fact that you need to clear an aptitude test, you also have to seamlessly sail through the personal interview session, and your composite score will decide your entry into IIM Indore. So it's a substantial weightage given to interviews in IIM Indore. So we would be taking sessions on interviews individually where I'll be telling you about how to prepare for interviews. But in today's session, we shall be talking about basically the aptitude test that we would be talking about in detail. Let's have a look at Rohtak's pattern. Now Rohtak has three sections. This examination also has logical reasoning apart from verbal ability and quantitative ability, and each section has an equal weightage, 40 marks each, plus 40 minutes, that is on average 1 minute per question given to each question. So 40 marks for each section. This examination, unlike Indore's examination, includes logical reasoning, whereas Indore focuses a lot on quantitative ability. So the composite score there increases for quantitative ability. So we've got three sections, plus their selection criteria also is depend upon your aptitude test scores, your personal interview, in addition to your past academic scores. So we need to also assess our scores in the 10th and 12th examinations. So Rohtak is an examination that will take a composite score on the basis of 45% weightage given to the aptitude test scores, 15% weightage given to the personal interview, and then 40% weightage given to your past academic scores. The common thing, verbal ability in both the examinations, quantitative ability in both the examinations, and personal interviews in both the examinations. So that is exactly what is going to be checked in the IIM Rohtak's paper. Now let's start talking about what should be our strategy for individual sessions if we are targeting any of the IPMAT examinations, be it Rohtak or be it indoor. Let's start talking about verbal ability. So since it's an integral part in both the examinations, it becomes very, very important. What are the things that you can do if you need to master the verbal ability section? The first one, a lot of questions on synonyms, antonyms, idioms and phrases are asked. The one word substitution also is a vocab type question. Fill in the blanks can be grammar or vocab. You've got a lot of grammar correction questions. You usually get 2 to 3 reading comprehensions. You have para completion questions, some critical reasoning questions, para jumbles, para summary and spotting errors. Spotting errors is another type of question like grammar correction. So apart from fill in the blanks, grammar correction and spotting errors, all of these sections can test your grammar ability. Synonyms, antonyms, odd word out, idioms and phrases, they would check your vocabulary ability. Fill in the blanks can also be on the basis of vocabulary. And then where reasoning is applied can be under para completion, para jumble or para summary questions. These are the sections that would check your reasoning ability. Now these are exactly the topics that are being asked. What can we do in the next 30 days so that we are able to clear this section efficiently? 1. We need to have a very good vocabulary to be able to clear this examination, because a lot of weightage in this examination is given to vocabulary. So our channel on YouTube has a lot of sessions where we have covered up vocabulary in detail. Please work on vocabulary through our YouTube channel sessions. You could also read prominent books on vocabulary like Word Power Made Easy. This book is by Norman Lewis. You could read this book. It's a very good book that will help you improve your vocabulary. 2. Grammar also is an important section. So in grammar, you can start solving any decent book. For example, Wren and Martin. Because our fundamentals of grammar need to be really clear if you want to rather solve miscellaneous error spotting and sentence correction questions. So Wren and Martin will help you clear your basic fundamentals. Revise all of that and specifically remember, work on exceptions. Exceptions are really important. Exceptions are exactly where questions can be framed. So we need to work on exceptions. Apart from that, we need to do a lot of reading if we want to solve reading comprehensions effectively. So read editorials, read The Guardian, read The Aeon. I'll write the names down. The Guardian, The Aeon, The Hindu. These newspapers and editorials will help you immensely to get through this section, that is reading comprehension. Always keep a notebook handy where you would make notes of exceptions in grammar rules and a list of vocabulary that you're working on. Keep jotting them down so that it's easier for you to revise them daily. Otherwise, the amount of work that you put in on vocabulary, you'll forget the words, and that should not be the case. So always remember, keep reading vocabulary words, note them down and keep revising them. Apart from that, you could always start taking sectional tests for verbal ability and mock tests. More of sectional tests in the initial week and more of mock tests in the later weeks. You can start taking one mock test probably in every 2 to 3 days now, and later on when the examination approaches, you can start taking one mock every day. So mock test and sectional tests for verbal ability is an integral part of your preparation process. Remember that. Please take a lot of them because the examination is time bound. We need to know how efficiently are we solving the paper time bound. Always try to keep a track of the pattern that has emerged through the years. So start solving all the previous year papers in depth and look at the pattern, look at the kind of questions they ask. Is there a similar pattern or has the pattern kept on changing? Figure that out. Keep solving the previous year papers along with the sectional tests and mock tests that you do. And try to communicate as much as possible in English so that your verbal skills are improved, which will help you with your aptitude test as well as your interview. Because you remember, interview is an integral part of both the examinations. So start communicating as much as possible so that you are comfortable and you have that confidence to clear the personal interview in both the examinations. Now that was about the verbal ability section. Let's start talking about the quantitative ability section. What do we do in the next 30 days in verbal ability, rather in quantitative ability, that we are able to sail through the examination seamlessly? So first, let's understand what are the kind of questions that are asked in quantitative ability. The topics could be TDS, time and work, average, percentage, ratio, proportion, logs, inequality, functions. Sets are asked, permutation and combination, probability, number theory. So a bit of higher maths including basic maths. Both of them is asked in both these examinations. What can we do to improve them? So your strategy for the next 30 days for QA has to be start your preparation from arithmetic. That will clear your basic fundamentals. Always work on your calculation skills. You need to be very quick with your calculations. You can't spend a lot of time, multiplying or dividing big numbers. Please work efficiently on speeding up your process of calculating. Okay? Always rely less on calculators because you will spend a lot of time, otherwise your dependency on calculators would increase and your option elimination would go down through that. And once you're done with these skills, move forward. Apart from arithmetic, you can move forward to algebra or PNC and then go on with the more difficult topics. So I would expect you to start with arithmetic and then move on to more difficult topics like algebra or PNC and so on. So that's about quantitative ability. Apart from that, please don't confuse yourself with a lot of material. Why do I say that? See, a lot of material is available online, a lot of material is available for free, a lot of videos are available for free, but working on a lot of material can be overwhelming. Please fixate upon one book, the teachers recommend us, and please keep solving that with your whole heart. If you understand a topic, you don't need multiple sources to master that because the pattern would be the same. If we need to solve reading comprehension from a variety of sources, it's still understandable. But working on mathematics from a variety of sources can all the more be more confusing. So don't do that. Please don't mess up with your fundamentals by referring to a lot of sources. Stick to the relevant topics and relevant questions only. Please don't deviate to irrelevant ones. How do I know? How do I know which one of them is relevant? We know which one of them is relevant only and only by analyzing the previous year papers. So we have to always look at types of questions that are important, that are relevant, and that will help me clear the examination. Keep a track of the formulas in a notebook that you're doing. Jot them down. Special questions where you were stuck, which you had seen in the previous year papers. Note them down in a notebook. Keep revising them throughout because revision is the key for vocabulary as well as different formulas of mathematics as well. Okay. So, Jyotika says, ma'am, when is the IPMAT 22 examination? It's in June. Okay. So, now let's start talking about the logical reasoning section. So, in logical reasoning section, see, the kind of questions that appear in logical reasoning are a notch tougher than the kind of questions that appear in logical reasoning in other BB entrance examinations. If you look at the IIM IPMAT papers. So, we need to practice harder for IPMAT as compared to the other, BB entrance examinations. We need to work harder on them. The kind of topics that we see in logical reasoning in the BB entrance examinations, we've got coding, decoding, series and sequence, ranking based, schedule programming, seating arrangement, matrix arrangement, figure based problems. Now you would say, ma'am, I see these kind of questions coming in all other BB examinations. That's true, but the difficulty level that comes in IPMAT is different and higher than what we see in other BB entrance examinations. Rather, in IPMAT, it's more difficult. So we need to work on our basic fundamentals here. How do we prepare for logical reasoning? How do we do that in the next 30 days? Start with basic fundamentals of logical reasoning. You can start with directions or coding, decoding. Simple questions. Doesn't require a lot of time, doesn't require a lot of mind. Work on mind maps for specific types of questions. What are mind maps? How do we need to go ahead with something? How do we need to follow that? Make a map in your own head. So mind mapping for logical reasoning along with working on mind map in mathematics as well as English is very, very important as a part of your strategy. Start focusing on critical reasoning as well, because logical reasoning can also have critical reasoning questions. That is equivalent to the verbal ability reasoning. I hope you know the difference between logical reasoning and critical reasoning. So we need to work on critical reasoning, and once your fundamentals, basic topics are clear, start increasing the difficulty level of each question. Start working more and more on difficult and tougher questions gradually. Because remember, LR in IPMAT is more difficult than any other BB entrance examination, including verbal ability and mathematics as well. Go through the past year papers, solve all the questions thoroughly, look for any pattern that you see. The similar kind of questions, what kind of questions appeared, keep solving them. And solve a variety of questions so that if a surprise comes up, you are not at a position of regretting. Solve a variety of miscellaneous questions in an array of reasoning. We need to solve many questions throughout in the next 30 days. Abstract reasoning is important, like character puzzles or visual reasoning. They need special attention because a lot of BB entrance examinations don't ask such questions to us. So this is something that we need to do as well. Rishabh says term 1 was worst and motivation is 0 from both IPMAT and term 2. Please guide. Okay, Rishabh, see, understand something. I am assuming you have already been preparing for this examination. Correct me if I am wrong. Have you already been preparing? Because if you have already been preparing, your strategy now would be a little different than anyone else. Please tell me, have you already been preparing for this examination? Then I would suggest you accordingly. Yes, Tejal. Very likely. So by the time Rishabh tells me if he has already been preparing so that I can help him. If you're targeting this UCT examination, a batch 2 for this examination has been launched. Make sure you enroll yourself at the earliest for this examination in this batch because you don't have a lot of time left. Apart from that, a BBA ranker course batch 2 has been launched for this examination if you're targeting NPAT, SET, GGS, Christ University, St. Xavier's. So you could enroll yourself for this batch at the earliest as well. If you're targeting IPMAT and DUJAT, a score booster course was launched on 18th of Feb. Do not be late, enroll yourself at the earliest. Our YouTube channel has a lot of free sessions coming up every day. So daily at 2 p.m. we have GK free sessions by Salik sir. Every day at 4 p.m. We have logical reasoning free sessions by Rohindip ma'am. Every day at 12:30 p.m. you have free sessions on verbal ability by me. And every day at 11 a.m. you have free sessions on quant by Ankur sir. Okay, Rishabh, see, since you've already been preparing, the only thing that you need to remember right now is focus. When the examination approaches, it is very natural to be jittery because you have your boards as well. You have to perform good in your boards as well as IPMAT. But बच्चे, since you've already been preparing, कुछ तो prepare किया होगा ना? I'm sure you've done something. You just need to be determined that what I've done is worthwhile and I just need to move ahead in the same direction without a lot of trouble to myself. Remember, this is the time where two things will become very, very important for you since you've already been preparing. What is going to be important for you? 1, revision, and 2, testing. You must have done a lot of topics in depth. Please right now focus only and only on revision and testing, Solve as many sectional tests and mock tests as possible. Once you do that, trust me, your confidence in terms of this BBA entrance examination would shoot up. Please solve mock tests. You might not be able to do really well in the first mock test, which is normal. But remember, our trajectory has to go like this. If this score was less, the next score has to improve and improve and improve. Every time I sit for a mock test, My chart has to go up. How do I go up? I revise, I sit for a test. I revise, I sit for a test. Because right now you need to focus on your boards as well. And thus, that will also take up a lot of time. So, every day, fix a few hours for testing and revision. So, probably 1 hour for revision and then 2 hours for testing. 3 hours per day. Can you fetch out for IPMAT? If you can do that, you can easily sail through it. You are just worried and nothing else. Testing will rekindle the confidence in your mind. Remember, the first few mocks can be a blunder. Do not be disheartened looking at that. Continue with your preparation. Keep revising because you've already done something in the past. I just need to revise that and sit for a mock again. Okay? Do I make sense, Rishabh? For now, the previous year papers, Tejal, if you haven't solved them, that is something that you need to prioritize. That's your priority, previous year papers, and nothing else. You need to know them by heart, every pattern of question. Alright? So, that was all for today, everyone. I hope you were helped by this session. I shall see you again tomorrow at 12:30. Have a very, very good day and God bless all of you.